My name's Stuart and I'm passionate about a good supervision.
My name's Richard. I'm a youth worker.
Okay, my name's Peter, and I have many fond memories of supervision.
I think for me in supervision it's important that whoever's supervising me knows what I do. So that could be that they have an understanding of my job, but I also tell them what I'm doing as part of that job.
Supervision to me forms part of the professional framework that youth workers are part of, in terms of making sure that the work they do is current and fresh, and that the projects and planning falls into place and you're working with your colleagues.
I suppose the other thing about supervision is that it's a big part of the placement for students who are training to be youth workers. You learn a lot when you're doing your face-to-face contact or working with new people, but actually it's a real time for quality reflection on what you've done, why you've done it, what values might have informed that, and also when you're training and how that fits with wider youth work practice.
If you look at the word supervision, it's like a really close look at what you're doing, and I think the relationship between the person being supervised and the person doing the supervision is really important, and I think that's always the starting point of supervision for me.
Supervision is important, and both worker and manager need to set the time aside to both prepare for it.
So I suppose a good example of that is I once had a supervision in a youth club, but because of the distractions around bits you can do, knowing that there's a time frame coming when the club has to open, having it before the youth club wasn't the best time because there was lack of time and it wasn't the right space.
Part of supervision is about being comfortable in your surroundings, being aware that you may have to talk about sensitive issues and you need to take that into account.
Supervision should be confidential, but for that to be real, you have to have trust between the manager and the worker, and that may take time to build.
Supervision is important that you prepare, you take time to bring something to the supervision, because if you walk into supervision without preparing, you will end up being on the back foot when it comes to being asked perhaps to take on extra responsibility. An important factor for supervision is that it's negotiated in terms of time and content.
I try my best to use supervision as an opportunity of negotiation. So to be reasonable and to expect the supervisor to be reasonable as we discuss things, in the way we discuss things, and the actions that come out of that.
There will usually be actions that come out of supervision, and there needs to be a balance of actions for worker and manager, and that if there are lots of actions, that the time frames for completing those actions are reasonable.
Supervision needs to be relevant to the work you're doing, so the person who is supervising you having a good understanding of the youth work process or the youth work curriculum is really important.
The thing I love about supervision is it's about me. It's not about how bad my supervisor's weekend was or what they're thinking and feeling at the moment. It's about them to help develop me in my job.
Supervision is that opportunity to reflect on your practice.
Supervision is part of the communication with your manager. So